Here is the short story about a young lady named Naomi, whom her mother nurtured her in a bad mode of appearance even in the school and other places without minding anyone's reactions or motives about her. Her skirt was so short, breast pushed out of every of outfits. She couldn't bend down without shame. But she wore it again the next day. I remember the look on the teacher's face. Disappointed, angry, but mostly helpless. She wanted to say something. She should have sent the girl home. But she paused, because people will say I'm too harsh. So she kept quiet, and another girl watched, then copied. By the next week, 3 more skirts got shorter. The boys started sagging their trousers like they just came from prison. And suddenly, the classroom started looking like a nightclub pre-party. One day, a young male teacher stormed out of the staff room and quit. I came to teach, not fight daily battles with temptation. He left. No warning. Just walked away. Another teacher tried to confront a student. The girl laughed and said, "My mom bought me this skirt." That's when it hit us. The collapse didn't start in the school. It started at home, where silence became agreement, where parenting became passivity, and now, we're watching a generation slip through our fingers, while we scroll and stay quiet. Dear parents, when you allow your child walk out half-dressed, to express themselves, you're not just being modern. You're quietly approving destruction. Dear school heads, when you see the madness and say nothing, you are failing the Naomi was known across the town not for her quietness, nor for her conformity, but for the way she dressed. Silks clung to her curves, colors blazed louder than the sun, and her stride was deliberate, unhurried. As if the streets themselves waited for her steps. People whispered, "Harlot, shameless woman." Yet Naomi never flinched. She had long ago decided that other people's tongues could not strip her of her dignity. One market morning, a young girl trailed behind her, wide-eyed. It was Lydia, her neighbor's daughter, who had begun to notice the sharp stares and murmurs adults cast toward Naomi. Finally, Lydia asked, "Auntie Naomi, don't you mind what they say about you?" Naomi bent slightly so her eyes met the girl's. "Child," she said, her voice low but rich, "people will always talk. If you wear rags, they will say you are poor. If you wear gold, they will say you are proud. If you walk fast, they will call you restless. If you walk slow, they will call you lazy. A woman must choose whom she serves, her own soul, or the gossip of others." Lydia nodded, though she did not fully understand. Naomi continued walking, and then, as though she were speaking to all mothers through the child, she said, "Train a girl child to know herself first. Work is honor. Whether she farms, sews, or studies law, tell her that labor is not shame but strength. Show her mercy. If she fails, let her know failure is not the end but a teacher. A girl who is forgiven learns to forgive herself. Above all, teach her to walk proudly, even if the world points fingers. For the world points fingers at every woman, but only the strong keep walking. By then, Lydia's small hand had curled into Naomi's. The market buzzed with chatter, yet Naomi walked taller still, her bracelets jingling like defiance, her head lifted like a banner. And though the town still whispered, Lydia would later remember not the rumors, but the lesson. That a woman's dignity is never in what she wears, but in how she stands. Now here is Naomi motives and reflections on her modesty. And it came to pass that in a certain town lived a woman named Naomi. She clothed herself in garments bright and bold, such that the people whispered against her, saying, "Surely this woman is shameless." But Naomi regarded them not, for her heart was strong within her. One day a young maiden asked her, "Mother Naomi, dost thou not fear the tongues of men?" And Naomi spoke, saying, "Train up a girl child to know her worth, that she may not be shaken by the judgment of the crowd. Teach her wisdom, that her tongue may speak truth and not timidity. Let her hands be diligent, for labor brings honor greater than gold. Correct her with mercy, that she may rise even after stumbling. And above all, let her walk with her head lifted, for the world will." And Naomi spoke, saying, "Train up a girl child to know her worth, that she may not be shaken by the judgment of the crowd. Teach her wisdom, that her tongue may speak truth and not timidity. Let her hands be diligent, for labor brings honor greater than gold. Correct her with mercy, that she may rise even after stumbling. And above all, let her walk with her head lifted, for the world will scorn every woman, but the wise will stand." And the maiden pondered these words, and they were as seeds planted in her heart. And the maiden departed from Naomi, her heart heavy with thought. She walked through the narrow streets, hearing the whispers of the people. Whispers that once pierced her like arrows. But now, the memory of Naomi's words guarded her like a shield. When she returned to her home, her mother asked, "Child, why do you walk so upright today?" And the maiden answered, "I have seen a woman whom the people scorn, yet she stands taller than queens. She taught me that worth is not in the tongues of men, but in the truth within." From that day, the maiden began to live differently. When her friends mocked her for her simple clothes, she smiled, for she remembered Naomi's robes. When the elders told her that girls of mercy. Years passed, and the maiden grew into a woman of wisdom. Mothers brought their daughters to her, saying, "Teach them as you were taught." And she would say, "Once I met a woman despised, yet she gave me seeds of truth. They grew in my heart, and now they bear fruit." Thus Naomi's words lived on, not in scrolls nor stone, the world. And the maiden went her way, carrying the words of Naomi as one who carries seeds in the folds of her garment. At first, the words seemed small, like grains of sand, but in time they grew into trees within her spirit. The first generation, the maiden, now a woman, faced many storms. Suitors came, some desiring only her beauty, others seeking to silence her spirit. But she remembered Naomi's counsel. Know yourself first, before the world names you. Rise when fallen. Her neighbors wondered why her daughters were different, why their laughter was bold, why their eyes did not cast down in shame. And when asked, she would only say, "Because I once met they could become healers, scribes, and leaders." Her second daughter, Ruth, chose the marketplace, not the classroom. She sold fabrics, bold and bright, the kind Naomi once wore. People laughed at her colors, but she smiled, saying, "Naomi taught us that brightness is not shame but courage made visible." Her stall became a gathering place for after Naomi. Her name was scarcely remembered in the streets where she once walked. The people who had whispered against her were dust, their voices silenced. But in the lives of women who stood boldly, the earth. The people who mocked her are long gone, their whispers buried in dust. But her spirit lives on, for every girl who stands with her head high, for every woman who forgives herself and rises again, for every mother who teaches her daughter courage. Naomi's breath is in them. So when you hear the world whisper against you, remember Naomi, she who wore bright robes, she who walked unbothered, she whose seeds became trees that still give us shade. For more inspired tales and story, subscribe to Sandy Bella TV. Like, share in comments and stay tuned for more amazing light.